Today I'm making an apple pie, which is my favorite breakfast food. And you might say that apple pie is not breakfast food, Lisa, and I tell you breakfast food is whatever you put in your mouth at breakfast time. And I eat apple pie for breakfast on the regular, so it's breakfast food. And I have very, very specific ideas about apple pie, and they include Granny Smith apples, and that's pretty much it. So, first up, peel and slice 6 to 8 Granny Smith apples. You know, I've used those fancy spiral slicers, and I don't, you know, maybe it's user error, but I don't think it's any faster because I have to go back in there and fix any spots that I accidentally missed with the peel, and I don't know. I just like doing it this way better. I always end up with bits of core in the spiral slicer. I don't know. This way I just get the most perfect slices. All right, I have all 6 of my apples cut up. I usually do 8, but 6 is all I had. Throw them in a bowl. I love my pies to be literally overflowing with apples. Like they're cooking and apple is just like spewing out of them. It's beautiful. Apples in a bowl. We need 3/4 of a cup of sugar. I'm just guessing. We need 2 tablespoons of flour. This will help them, the juice thicken up. Half of a teaspoon of cinnamon. And 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. And now I'm just gonna toss these all together. And they're so good. Okay, time to get the crust ready. Okay, for the crust of my apple pie, I used to be a very big purist on crust. I have a very specific crust I like, and it's delicious and it's amazing, and it's a lot of work. It's not really a lot of work, but it is work. But then I got cancer and I just had less. I had less energy. I had just less of me to go around. So I did something crazy and I bought a crust from the store, and it was actually decent. It's nowhere near as good as my butter flour amazing crust, but it's okay. So that's what I'm doing today. So make your crust, or open your crust in the store. You're gonna wanna throw some flour down so it doesn't stick. Make sure you guys can see this. I mean, it's not rocket science, but. And if you're making your crust, you're just gonna roll it out. I'll show you my crust sometime. I'll make a video. Today is not the day. You're gonna flour both sides so it doesn't stick to your surface. And I need to make it a little bigger because I have a beautiful big pie plate that I like to use. This is my favorite pie plate, and it was a gift from my beautiful mother-in-law, Tammy, and I love it so much. But to see if your pie's crust is big enough, just kind of hold your plate over your circle of dough and make sure that it kind of extends over the edges on all the sides. Then to pick it up, I usually just fold it in half, lay it halfway over your pie plate, and unfold. Carefully push the bottom in. You're gonna want your crust to stick up around the edges so that when you put the top crust on, you can get a nice crimp and tuck all those juices inside. So now you got your crust in there. You're gonna take your apples from earlier and then just kind of put them in the bottom. When I'm doing 8 apples, I really like puzzle piece them in there and make sure every single gap is filled because there's just no room for error because there's so many apples. But there's only 6 apples here, so there's plenty of room. So I'm just gonna toss them in. All right. And when this cooks, they will cook down. When it's 8 apples, it's like a huge, beautiful mound, and I just love it so much. But that's good for now. I'm gonna move this out of the way and we're gonna do the top crust. Okay, top crust, same thing. You're gonna wanna flour your surface. You're gonna roll it out exactly the same. It doesn't have to be quite as big because it doesn't have to go up the sides. It just has to lay across the top. To make the top of my crust decorative. In the winter time, I do little snowflake cookie cutters. In the fall, I do little autumn leaf cookie cutters. But since it's summer, I'm going to do a little sunflower design. And I'm just gonna do that with my knife. So So I'm just gonna do petals, maybe more like a daisy, coming out from the middle. If you don't want to do anything fancy, you can just make little cuts after you put it on your pie. You don't have to get all crazy with it. You know me, I'm extra. Okay, I got my little petals cut. So now I'm gonna pop them out. I'm saving those petals, I'm not getting rid of them. And then to get this on top of my pie, oh, maybe I won't. No, it's good enough. What I'm gonna do, okay, so to get this on top of my pie, I like to roll it around my rolling pin so it's nice and secure, and then just kind of unroll it right across my pie. Easy peasy. And I'm gonna take this crust and kind of tuck it in close to my apples. And I have quite a bit hanging off. And the easiest way I've found to take care of that is just a pair of scissors. You still want to cut this wider than your pie plate, so it's hanging off just a little bit. Because you're going to need to tuck it all in. So now to tuck it in, I take the top and tuck it around the outside of the plate. Well, the outside of the bottom crust, like this. And then to crimp it, use 3 fingers and push it together like that. And that'll make a little crimp. So you're gonna crimp around the whole thing. And now I'm gonna get a little bowl with some milk. Now I can use this milk, kind of like glue. These are those pieces that I cut out, those little petals. I'm gonna glue them right back onto my pie. And then I'm gonna use this to kind of brush lightly so it's not sopping, but so it's a little bit moist over my whole crust. Okay, my whole crust moist. And now I'm gonna take some, how do you even say that? Turbinado sugar? And just kind of sprinkle that all over the top. And there's one final step before we put this in the oven. The easiest easiest way I have found to keep the edges from getting too brown before the middle is cooked is to take a piece of foil that's bigger than your pie, fold it in quarters, cut a quarter circle out, open it up, oh no, I made it too big. That's fine. If you make your circle too big, just tuck some of the sides in. Here we go. That's a good size. You want the shiny side down so it doesn't reflect the heat. There, and now your center will get baked and your edges will stay safe. We're gonna throw that in a 375-degree oven for 40 minutes, take the foil off, and then bake it for an additional 20 minutes. Let's check on that pie. Oh yeah. Oh, I can't tip it too far, it's gonna spill. That's a good looking pie. Now, the key to having a setup apple pie is let it sit overnight. If you cut into it too early, it's still gonna be liquid inside. So let it sit overnight, heat it back up the next day, and it'll be nice and congealed inside. It'll be perfect for breakfast.